On January 12th, 2023, paramedics rushed to a mansion in Calabasas, California. The woman on the floor had no pulse. 2 days earlier, she had walked the red carpet at the Golden Globes, smiling, standing upright barely. The cameras caught something that night, a fragility in her posture, a distance in her eyes, but nobody said anything, not publicly. She was the sole heir to the most iconic name in American music. $100 million fortune, a palace called Graceland, a father the world worshipped. But by the time she died, Lisa Marie Presley was $3.8 million in debt. She had buried her own son, and for 2 months, she had slept in a house where his body lay preserved on dry ice in a freezing bedroom down the hall. This is not a story about Elvis. This is the story of what it cost to be his daughter. Lisa Marie Presley didn't inherit a legacy. She inherited a curse, and every choice she made, every person she trusted, and every tragedy that found her was the price of being Elvis's only child. She was born on February 1st, 1968, at Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, exactly 9 months after her parents' wedding. The math was public. The scrutiny began immediately. Her childhood was Graceland. Not just a house, a compound, a sealed world where a little girl rode golf carts across manicured grounds with the most famous man on the planet, where the gates stayed shut and the outside world only existed on television. Elvis gave her everything a child could want. Within 3 years, she'd have nothing left, not even him. In 1973, Elvis and Priscilla divorced. Lisa Marie was 5. She was split between 2 realities: Priscilla's rigid, controlled world in Los Angeles and Elvis's permissive chaos in Memphis. One house had rules, the other had none. And neither had stability. Then came August 16th, 1977. 9-year-old Lisa Marie was at Graceland that morning. She later recalled the moment with a precision that only trauma preserves, finding her father face down on the bathroom floor. She said she knew instantly. Her exact words years later, she knew. It was not good. Elvis Presley was dead. He was 42 years old. His daughter was 9. And now I need to stop here for a second, because what happened next isn't just sad, it's the foundation of everything that came after. By 1980, her grandfather Vernon was dead. Her great-grandmother Minnie Mae was dead. Every adult who had been part of the Graceland world. Gone. Lisa Marie became the sole heir to the entire Presley estate, a fortune that would grow to an estimated $100 million. She was a child, sitting on a throne, with no one left to protect her. There was someone in Priscilla's life that Lisa Marie never talked about publicly, not for decades. And when she finally did, it explained everything. His name was Michael Edwards, an actor, Priscilla's boyfriend. According to Lisa Marie, Edwards sexually abused her, starting when she was 10 years old. She was now the richest teenager in Memphis, but the people closest to her were already circling, and the cycle Elvis started. The drugs, the isolation, the people who took more than they gave, was already repeating. She dropped out of high school. She fell into cocaine, Valium. At 17, she was sent to the Church of Scientology's Celebrity Center for rehab. And it was there in a Scientology facility in Los Angeles that she met Riley Keough, a musician, quiet, grounded, the opposite of everything she'd known. They married in 1988. She was 20 years old. They had 2 children, Riley, born in May 1989, and Benjamin, born in October 1992. For a brief window, it looked like stability. It didn't last. 20 days. That's how long Lisa Marie waited after divorcing the father of her children before marrying the most famous man on the planet, Michael Jackson, 1994. The world thought it was a publicity stunt. It wasn't, at least. Not to her. She genuinely believed she could save him. She saw in Jackson what she had seen in her own father, a man consumed by fame, surrounded by enablers, medicating himself into oblivion while everyone around him smiled and took their cut. She recognized the pattern. She thought she could break it. Years later, she'd admit she spent 4 years after the divorce still trying and failing. Jackson's entourage closed ranks. The drugs got worse. The sealed world he lived in was, according to those close to her, unnervingly familiar. Another Graceland. Another king she couldn't reach. Another man she loved, slipping away behind closed doors while the world applauded on the other side. When Jackson died in 2009, also from a drug-related cardiac arrest, also at the hands of people who should have protected him, Lisa Marie said she felt the weight of every warning she'd ever given him come crashing down. She'd seen it coming. She just couldn't stop it. The marriage had ended in 1996. The tabloids feasted. Then came Nicolas Cage. The Cage marriage lasted 108 days. He filed for divorce in November 2002. There's almost nothing to say about it, and that, in itself, tells you something. But the damage from the next relationship Lockwood would take. 15 years to escape. Michael Lockwood became her 4th husband in 2006. In 2008, she gave birth to fraternal twin daughters, Harper and Finley. The marriage collapsed into a vicious divorce, a custody battle involving Child Protective Services, and years of legal warfare. Through all of this, she was making music. And here's the part that often gets overlooked. She was actually good. Her debut album, To Whom It May Concern, dropped in 2003 and debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200. It went gold. Her track, Nobody Noticed It, was a raw, deeply personal ode to Elvis. A daughter defending a father, the media had turned into a punchline. Her 3rd album, Storm and Grace, produced by T-Bone Burnett in 2012, was something else entirely. Stripped-down Americana. Critics called it her breakthrough. It was also her goodbye to Scientology, a faith she'd been embedded in since adolescence. She called leaving Keough the biggest mistake of my life. She said it more than once. She had built something of her own, a music career, a new family, twin daughters. But the man managing her father's fortune was quietly burning through. Every dollar she had, and the son she adored, the one who looked exactly like Elvis, the one she called her kindred spirit, was running out of time. Here's a number that should stop you cold. She was earning $104,000. Every single month from the Elvis estate, she had $14,000 in her bank account. How does that happen? The name is Barry Siegel, her business manager. According to a lawsuit Lisa Marie filed in 2018, Siegel didn't just mismanage her money, he dismantled her inheritance piece by piece. In 2005, Siegel sold 85% of Elvis Presley Enterprises for $50 million in stock. The company her mother had spent a decade saving from bankruptcy. The company Priscilla had built from near zero to $100 million by 1993. Gone, most of it, in a single transaction. And where did the money go? Into investments. Reckless ones, according to the lawsuit. including a firm called Core Entertainment. You've probably never heard of it. That's the point. It went bankrupt. By 2016, court documents showed Lisa Marie Presley, the heir to Graceland, the daughter of the king, had $14,000 in cash and $500,000 in credit card debt. By the time of her divorce from Lockwood, she claimed to be $16 million in the red. At her death, her net worth was reported at negative $3.8 million. Let that settle for a moment. $100 million. Inherited, managed by a professional, and it was all gone worse than gone. Meanwhile, the opioids she'd started taking after her twins were born in 2008 were no longer optional. What began as pain management became dependency, became addiction, became a quiet, unrelenting, unraveling that nobody around her could stop or, depending on who you believe, wanted to. And her relationship with Priscilla, the woman who had saved the estate, who had turned Elvis's memory into an empire, was, by all accounts, tumultuous. There are two sides to that story, and neither one is simple. The mother who saved the money, the managers who stole it, the daughter who was caught in between. She was broke. She was addicted. She was trapped in a custody war. And then, one afternoon in July 2020, her phone rang. What Benjamin's death did to Lisa Marie goes beyond anything grief counselors have a word for. Benjamin Keough was 27 years old. He died by suicide in July 2020. Lisa Marie later told people that his death detonated and destroyed her life. Those were her exact words. Detonated, destroyed, not diminished, not changed, destroyed. What happened next, and this is the part that's difficult to talk about, exists in a space beyond conventional grief. California law does not require immediate burial. Lisa Marie knew this. And she used it. She kept Benjamin's body preserved on dry ice in a 55-degree casita bedroom at her Calabasas home. For 2 months, she told people she needed more time to parent him. Those were her words, to parent him. She didn't just keep his body in the house. She brought a tattoo artist into the room while her son lay on dry ice to copy the ink from his collarbone onto her own skin. According to her memoir notes, Riley was horrified. There is no easy way to hold that image, no framework that makes it feel normal. And maybe that's the point. Normal had never applied to Lisa Marie Presley. Not once in her entire life. The months after were a slow collapse. She suffered severe abdominal pain, fevers, vomiting. She avoided doctors. The opioids she was taking, therapeutic levels of oxycodone, buprenorphine, and quetiapine, according to the toxicology report, likely masked the severity of what was happening inside her body. On January 10th, 2023, she appeared at the Golden Globes, her final public appearance. The footage is difficult to watch. She was visibly unsteady, leaning on people for support. 48 hours later, she was on the floor of her home. On January 12th, she was dead. Cardiac arrest. She was 54. The autopsy revealed a small bowel obstruction, a strangulated bowel caused by scar tissue from a previous bariatric surgery. The medication in her system had likely slowed her gastrointestinal motility, making the blockage worse. The pain she'd been ignoring for months. It was her body shutting down. The autopsy told one story, but the $50 million lawsuit filed 18 months later told a very different one. Immediately after her death, the estate war began. Priscilla challenged a 2016 amendment to Lisa Marie's trust, an amendment that had removed Priscilla and Barry Siegel as trustees, replacing them with Riley and Benjamin. Priscilla claimed her signature on the document appeared inconsistent. She said she'd never been notified of the change. In May 2023, they settled. Riley Keough became the sole trustee of Graceland and the Presley estate. Priscilla received a $1 million lump sum, $400,000 for legal fees, a $100,000 annual salary as a special advisor, and the right to be buried at Graceland. It's easy to judge, but the reality was more complicated than that. A mother and a granddaughter, both grieving, both fighting over what was left. Then August 2024, a bombshell. Former business partners Brigitte Cruz and Kevin Fialco filed a $50 million lawsuit containing an allegation that still hasn't been resolved. They claimed Priscilla deliberately overrode Lisa Marie's advance healthcare directives that stated, explicitly, a desire to prolong life as long as possible, and pulled the plug prematurely, before Riley could arrive at the hospital. The alleged motive, seizing control of the trust. Priscilla's lawyers called it malicious character assassination. The case, as of now, remains disputed. The exact truth. No one outside that hospital room may ever know. There's one more thread to this story, the music. Throughout her life, Lisa Marie kept returning to Elvis, not as a brand, not as a business, but as a father she still missed. In 1997, on the 20th anniversary of his death, she recorded a virtual duet of Don't Cry Daddy, her voice layered over his original vocal track. In 2007, she did it again with In the Ghetto. That single went to #1 on iTunes. She donated every cent to the Presley Place Transitional Housing Campus in New Orleans. And in 2018, one final duet, Where No One Stands Alone, a gospel track digitally reworked so that father and daughter could sing together. The music video placed Lisa Marie into archival footage alongside Elvis, a girl reaching across decades to stand beside the man she never stopped loving. 3 duets with a dead father. If that doesn't tell you everything about Lisa Marie Presley, nothing will. In October 2024, Riley Keough published a book, From Here to the Great Unknown. It was Lisa Marie's memoir unfinished at her death. Riley completed it using audio tapes her mother had recorded, hours of raw, unfiltered recordings. Lisa Marie's voice talking about Graceland, about Elvis, about finding him dead, about Michael Jackson, about the drugs, about Benjamin, about the grief that swallowed her whole. Riley laid in bed and listened to all of it. She transcribed the tapes. She filled in the gaps with her own memories. The result is a book written in 2 voices. A mother and a daughter, communicating across the boundary between life and death. For the audiobook, actress Julia Roberts performed Lisa Marie's passages, Riley narrated her own, and throughout the chapters, snippets of Lisa Marie's actual voice, speaking from beyond. The book debuted at #2 on the New York Times bestsellers list. Lisa Marie Presley spent 45 years trying to escape her father's shadow. She fought for her own music, her own identity, her own voice. In the end, she was buried next to him, at Graceland, beside her son Benjamin. The Presley curse didn't end with Elvis. It just passed to the next generation. And Lisa Marie, in her own words, on her own terms, from beyond the grave, finally made sure the world heard her side.